Man, he's giving you a lot of those notes.
Yeah, I think it's cute.
Love is patient. Love is kind.
It's the most beautiful tiny ring I've ever seen.
Love doesn't boast.
It's not much.
But it's ours.
Welcome home.
Love isn't proud.
I'm sorry. There's no heartbeat.
Love protects.
Have to go.
Have a nice quiet day at work, hon.
Love doesn't envy.
Finally, you and me.
Love isn't self-seeking.
What time are you going home?
Love keeps no records of wrongs. Love always trusts and always hopes.
How's your love life? And I know in this video this morning that we watch, it depicts a man and a woman and reflecting on their life as they grow old together. And I want you to know, for those of you in this room this morning that do have a relationship like that, love is so very important. It's one of the most important things that you can have in a relationship. But then for you, maybe, that don't have a relationship that reflects something like we've seen on the screen, there's so much more today than just a husband and a wife relationship. There truly is. There's relationships that we show love in all the time. You know, before I started pastoring this church, I really didn't tell a lot of people that I loved them. I would tell maybe my wife, you know, on occasion. I would tell my children on occasion when I would see them, I would tell them, I love you. But I catch myself as I grow older and as I have developed this love and this passion for people, it seems like it comes out more often for some reason, you know? And so when I dismiss a service or I catch myself as you're walking out the door and I'll say, I love you. And it's not just a cliche. It's not just something like, oh, by the way, but it's something that changes in your heart over a period of time as you grow close to people and you begin to get to know them. There's really a bond. There's really a connection. There's really something there that's just more than a friendship of just passing by each other. There's this thing called love. And I want us to look at it this morning because love is so very important to us in our lives. Love is patient and love is kind. Sometimes we don't reflect that in our lives. We mean to, and we want to, but sometimes those things don't come out exactly like we mean for them to. It's funny. It's basketball season. And so, like right now, I'm just totally just basketball minded. You know, I get to go watch high school basketball. I get to go watch fourth grade basketball and sixth grade basketball. And if there's games in between, I stay and watch some of those basketball games. And it's so amazing to watch people as they're in the stands, you know, because what happens is this. The game starts, and then people begin to change. And the personalities that you thought people had are totally different. It's amazing to me to watch, you know, because all of a sudden, even the person that loves so very much and is so caring and kind and patient, that all changes for that hour that you're watching this. And especially if you've got a kid or a grandchild or a close friend that's actually playing, it totally goes south. Love is patient, love is kind, until we enter into the first quarter. And then all of a sudden, it goes something like this. They dribble the ball down the court, there's a little shove. And at first you're just like, come on, ref, you know? And then they come back down the court again, and somebody else gets a little bit of an elbow, and then you're like, really, ref? You know, and then they're underneath the bucket, and they're going up for the shot, and you're like, give me a break, that was a foul. And so a little bit later, they're on a fast break, and a kid just tries to take the ball away from your kid, and that really shows the love of God within inside of you, and you stand up, and you say, do you want me to come out there and take it for... What are you doing? You're so blind you can't see nothing, can you? You little zebra! Then you're sitting down, you know, in your seat again, and your wife is looking around, and she's thinking, how many people have seen my husband scream and yell at this ref? And that's when your kids, you know, after the game, they come home and they say, Mom and Dad, are y'all going to attend every game that I play this season? It's funny because there's different situations in our life that really do change our character. And it makes us do things that we don't necessarily consider bad. We don't know the ref. We don't know the people around us. It's, you know, what does it really matter? What does it really affect? Except for, it talks about in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 39, when Jesus is talking to his disciples, he said, the people around you will know you for the love that you have for one another. And that love that you have, they're going to know you because that love shows that you're my disciples. And so basically, in Matthew chapter 5, what he's saying is that your actions of love will let everybody around you know who you are and who you are in me. And so when you put it in context and look at that, you say, oh my goodness. So you mean like when I'm driving down the road and that guy kind of just swerves over a little bit, didn't realize that he was coming into my lane, and then all of a sudden that might look kind of bad, you know? And maybe I was traveling down the road one time, and I had this trailer on the back of my truck, and I seen this motorcycle going down Center Road, and it was really sharp. It was like blue and had all this chrome on it, and there was this big biker dude on top of this bike, you know, and he had these big bars that he could put his feet on, and he was riding. And I was thinking, what kind of bike is that? That is really a nice bike. So I'm speeding up, trying, and then this bike speeds up, and then I'm trying to catch it because I want to see what it says on the side of that tank, you know. And so it's just like we're like racing back and forth, can't figure it out. And so finally, at some point during this whole time, I realized, or maybe it was Steve that realized, I don't know, he's sitting in the back. It was Steve on the bike. He goes to our church, and we had talked later on. He said, this guy over here, he was coming up, and I was trying to get away from him because I didn't want to be next to this truck, you know, and pushing me off the road or whatever, and I was just trying to see what kind of bike. I didn't even know it was Steve, you know, and I'm like, thank God, Steve, you know, that you didn't pull something out of your hat and flip me off or run me off the road or, you know, I mean, you wouldn't want to do that to the pastor. He was all nice. He just told me that he wanted to after it was all said and done. But he didn't. He practiced this patience and love. You know, even though I'm trying to run him off the road, he just kept us cool, and he just tried to speed up, and he tries to get out of the way. But sometimes that's not how it is. We're not very patient with people. And it's not like we all the time want to give people the benefit of the doubt. You know? Sometimes people don't mean to do certain things. Or maybe there's reasons behind the things that people do in their life that we don't know about. But we're so fast to call them out on it, aren't we? I mean, we're so fast to stand up and start hurling it and just start talking about it and saying it. I can't believe those people. I can't believe those refs. I can't believe that guy tried to run me off the road. I can't believe that my husband or my wife, they'd treat me that way. I can't believe, you know. And so in our mind, when we start talking about the love of Christ that we have, sometimes it doesn't become very patient. And sometimes it doesn't come very kind at all. Jesus was talking to a man named Peter. And Peter, one of the disciples, you just don't question him really because he was one of the first and he'd been with Jesus the longest. But Jesus comes up to him and asks him towards the end of Jesus' life, he says, Peter, do you love me? And he asks him that over and over and over. And Peter comes to the point where he gets kind of frustrated with Jesus, you know, and he, yes, I love you, you know. But it wasn't very much longer until the prophecy that Jesus had told that Peter was going to deny him came true. Now, I don't doubt that in the mind of Peter that he truly loved Christ. But what I do know that happened was life. When stress came on, when a time of fear took place, when Peter got into a crowd of people that were rioting and doing things towards this man that he had followed, Peter did not stand up and say, I love him. I love him with everything I've got. I've followed him this far, and I will continue to follow him. He did not say that. He denied him. And so it does give us this room this morning of saying that maybe we're not perfect. And I don't know that God expects us to be all the time. But I do think that he wants us to take the character of love and place it inside of our lives so that we can show it more often. There's also a scripture that talks about that if a man would slap you or hit you on one side of the face, that you should not just retaliate, but you should turn and let him hit you on the other side. And I know for a lot of us, we look and we say, well, that seems like extreme weakness to me. You know, if somebody was going to come up against me, if an enemy was going to come and he was going to do something against me, if he's going to take advantage of me like that, then I'm not going to let him hit me again. I'm not going to let him do something harmful to me once more. But the Word of God says, if it takes place here, then just stand and let it take place here. And I want you to get what Christ is trying to do in our lives. He's saying that he has control. He's saying that if you can be patient and kind and not just retaliate all the time, that maybe life would be just a little bit better. I watch coaches, going back to the basketball analogy, if you watch a coach that stands up and he starts griping and complaining about the ref, how many calls does that coach get the rest of the game? 0. If there's a foul on your team and you've been complaining and you've been griping and you've been, screaming, you're stupid and I can't believe you and that was a charge, and that ref in his mind shuts you off completely, and no longer do you have an inroad with him. He's calling the game, and from that point on, if there's anything that your team does that's wrong, you will be penalized for it completely. But the coach that stands up and is patient with the ref, you'll get it next time. Or when he calls something good, you say, hey, that was a great call. Thanks for calling that. Or a coach that is just kind to the ref in talking to him in between quarters or before or after a game. That ref will call for you over and over and over and over again. Why? Because you showed forth this characteristic that we're talking about this morning, which is called love. If you come home, whether you're a husband or a wife, whether you're a dad or a child, the house is just dirty. I mean, filthy. You've been working all day long. You have been slaving away. And the last thing you want to come home to is a house that looks like yours. You know? You walk in the door, and the first thing that comes out of your mouth is, what have you been doing all day? Sound familiar? Been watching TV or what? Huh. Well, I thought maybe at least you could just pick up a little bit of stuff. You know I didn't have any underwear clean this morning. Or you could walk in and you could say this. You could say, hey, I'm home. Did you have a good day? Well, it hadn't been a great day, but, well, maybe it'll be better the rest of the day. Let's sit down and talk about what went on. You sit down, you talk for a few minutes, and you say, hey, I think I'm going to get up. I think I'm going to straighten up around here, if you don't mind. And before you know it, your kid or your husband or your wife, roommate, whoever, all of a sudden you're there together, you start cleaning the place up, before you know it's all clean. No fights, no throwing anything, no slamming doors, no squealing of tires, no nothing. And all of a sudden, it's all nice and tidy. And I just want to make the point this morning that sometimes if we can just show love, it goes so much further when we're patient and kind and gentle, and we show those characteristics to people. Because if we show those characteristics to our family and for those people around us, they know that we truly are serving Christ. So how's your love life this morning? Because if you're always in a bad mood and you're always cranky and it's just never good enough and you find yourself on edge all the time and you're totally stressed out and things that, maybe it's that we come back to the first 2 points of 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and we sit there together for a little while and try to figure out a few ways that we can implement patience in our life. Christ is the best example. The best example of this is going to be Christ. And so I do want to read you this story this morning. Let me get the right scripture. I've got them marked. But Luke chapter 23, verse 32. It says, 2 other men, both criminals, were also led out with him to be executed. This is Jesus on the cross. It said, when they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him, along with criminals, one on the right and the other on his left. And Jesus said this, and I want you to look at these words. It says, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. They divided up his clothes by casting lots. Jesus says, Father, would you forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. Here are these Roman soldiers. They take Christ to the cross. There's 2 thieves on both sides of him. He's there for no apparent reason. He's totally and completely innocent. They asked him to speak towards his charge, and he says nothing to them. He's patient. He's kind through all of the beatings. He does not retaliate. He does not resist arrest. All of these times that you say, why did you not, Jesus, just stand up and just say, I am God? Do you not understand this? I could make all of you pay for putting me on this cross. Don't you understand who I am? And that's what we do. I mean, I am the father of this home, and you will submit to me. Well, I'm the wife, and that never goes good. But you do not see Christ fighting like that. You see him turning a cheek and letting them hit, and then he turns the other cheek and letting them hit, and he knows that his love will go much further than his retaliation. Much, much further than his retaliation. It's the greatest example because he does that so that you and I can know truly what love is. That we can know what true forgiveness is. So that we can have eternal life together with him. So how's your love life this morning? Is it great? Is it wonderful? Is it one of those things that when somebody comes against you, whether you know them or you don't, that you give them the benefit of the doubt and you stop and you don't, your first instinct is not retaliation, but your first instinct is love. your first instinct is to wait and to back off and to think about it for just a second. Because if you're not patient, you get yourself in trouble really, really, really fast. When your mind is not as fast as your mouth. When you're not that patient, and so your mouth starts speaking out the words, and your mind really can't, and now you just regret everything you've said. And I realize you can't take those things back. And the worst part about it is this. The people around you begin to act just like you. Just like you. Can't you see it in your kids' eyes? They say the same thing you say. They act identical. They are just like you. And so when you say to them, hey, don't do that again. Well, that is totally true. They should not. But most of the time what I found out is I probably should be screaming at myself before I scream at them, because they had to learn it from somebody. And they probably learned the characteristic of being patient and kind from me. So it's so important. They will know you by your love. If they see you with people, and they see you being patient and waiting and loving and caring and all of those things, guess what? Those people around us, whether they're our children, whether they're our wife or our husband or just friends, they jump on the bandwagon with us. Most people are followers. Most people are not leaders. So those people around you will follow you wherever you go, and I hope that we're taking them to a place that shows patience and kindness through the love of God. How's your love life this morning? Are you in love with God more than anything in this world? And is that being expressed out of you? Sometimes we have a lot of memories of life. A lot of memories about how people love us and how people's cared for us, just like what we've watched this morning. I told somebody the other day, I said, I don't take enough pictures. I'm not a picture guy. I got a phone that'll take a picture. I've got a camera at the house. It's probably outdated, but it's there. You can buy those little disposable ones cheap enough. But I don't take enough pictures. Memories of the times that I have with friends or family. So when you look back on your life and you see all of those things take place, are you going to be able to say, man, my love life was great. I did everything possible that I could to be patient with people, whether I knew them or not. People just would know that I was kind because of the memories that they had of me. Don't you hope that? Little things in our life that signify love. Just little things. by saying it. If I ever tell you I love you, I mean it. It's not just a filler word for me. Don't let it be a filler word for you. Don't just end the conversation at the end of the phone call with I love you because you do it every time. It's a memory that you can keep. Those memories won't be there all the time. I want you to remember just to be patient with other people. When you're driving down the road, when you're at a ball game, you're going to think of me at every ball game you go to. Every time you stand up and fixing to cuss out the ref, you're going to remember, man, I remember my pastor. Is he here? Where's he at? Don't make me stand up in the crowd and point you out. I'm playing. Be patient with people. Let people remember that you are kind and gentle. I'd rather be kind and gentle than somebody remember me being tough any day of the week. Any day of the week. Let my family know that I love them more than anything in this life. More than this church, I love my family. Let them remember that today. More than your job, let your kids, people around you, let them remember that you love them more than that job. That you're patient with them in their struggles. And maybe they're not the best at everything, but they're excelling to their most potential. And that's enough. And we love them to that point. And it's okay. Maybe they're not the best. Maybe they're not the fastest. But being patient and kind and gentle with them through that process is so important. And don't let this be a memory where they say, I don't want to be around you anymore. I don't want to play for you anymore. I don't want to sing for you anymore. I don't want to do that anymore, because the memories that we're leaving in their lives are ones that are not patient and not kind. And matter of fact, it just doesn't feel like you love me very much because you're on my case all the time. Let the vows that I made to my wife and before people always remain true. May that memory be etched in stone forever, for better, for worse, for sicker, for poor. It's important. It's really, really important. Because people will know us by the love that we have for one another. May I be patient with my church that I go to. That just when something goes wrong or something's not like I exactly want it, that I don't get so upset and so uptight, but I'm patient and I wait and I ask questions nicely before I just decide just to close the door and walk out. What I'm trying to say this morning more than anything, and what God's trying to relate to us, is this. We need to have a great love life. And we need to show that to everyone that's around us, because that truly is the character of God. He loved us so much that he died for us without complaining. The sacrifice was made so that we one day could be reunited with God. And here's what he expects out of us. The same exact thing. same exact thing. So the next time you feel it raging inside, the next time you feel like it's going to be different than you want it to be, just be patient, just be kind. And if it's not your characteristic, then show Christ in you.